La Resortera. Welcome to another episode of Pura Vida Perspectives podcast with myself, Sarah Elena. We have Jairo here, and we have a special guest today, Crystal Perdue. So Crystal is a licensed therapist and a life coach. I've had her on my YouTube channel before, and she's just the instant I talked to her, I just felt like we clicked. She's so insightful. She's been in Costa Rica for a lot of years. So this episode, we're going to talk about kind of her expat story because I think she's got a lot of really good hidden gems and tips and tricks in there. I guess for anyone who might be traveling to Costa Rica or also just thinking about moving, who's already moved. And I know in other future episodes with her, we'll talk about some habits and really, going through the motions or emotions that might come up with a move. But yeah, Crystal, so thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today. It's been great. I'm a licensed therapist and life coach, and I've been doing therapy for over 25 years. I'm saying that, I'm like...
Well, you started when you were a kid, what, like 10, 15?
I was 10.
You look so young.
Yeah, I was about 10, yeah. I've lived in Costa Rica. This will be my 20th year.
Okay.
So,
wow.
my story's interesting. So
You're a tica already.
I'm a tica linda.
There
right?
you go.
Funny story. My ex-husband is Costa Rican. So we were living in Kansas, and we had our daughter. She was only 1. And I'm like, why don't we move to Costa Rica? And he was like, I don't know. And granted, this is my Costa Rican ex-husband, right? And so long story short, we moved here, and it took me a while to get adjusted and and everything.
You guys met in the States?
We met in the States.
Okay.
And I had never really honestly even heard of Costa Rica, being from Kansas.
The middle of the country.
Suburbiaville,
Yeah.
right? Cookie Cutterville. Fell in love with it. It took me a while, but long story short, we were married 20 years, and then we've been divorced 5, and he actually moved back. He moved to the U.S.
Okay.
about a year after our divorce. And I stayed.
So you flip.
We flipped countries, literally. So that tells you how much I love living here, right?
Nice.
And I have 2 kids, 21 and 17. So they really, they wanted to stay in Costa Rica because their family, friends, school, and everything was here. So it was, I'm not going to lie, it was a huge transition. Even though I had lived here with my ex-husband for so long, this was actually me alone. Even though his family's very supportive and I have friends here, it was different, banking here, and I maneuvered it obviously, but it was quite an adjustment, but it's been great, so far.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, what was the hardest thing of you moving to Costa Rica?
Well, and granted, this was 20 years ago.
Mhm.
You couldn't even get peanut butter here. So one of the hardest things was just the adjustment. I mean, now we pretty much have everything. And if we don't have it, there's accessibility, but that was really hard, just getting used to not having some of the things that you're used to. And you have to come here with an open mind and be flexible.
There you
It's
go.
not going to be like back at home. I mean, people are like, oh, you don't have Thanksgiving. No, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving.
Sarah has mentioned that a lot in other episodes. Like, you came here for a reason, right? Not to
Yeah.
do the same stuff
Yeah.
that you're doing back home.
Exactly. Some traditions you might bring with you, some you might not. But yeah, it's a different country. It's a different country.
It is. And it's adaptability is a key. And I think as a mental health professional, when you do make a change like that, that is really important to have an open mind and an open heart to receive whatever hits you, whatever comes your way. And I think that's really the important part of a smooth transition is just being open. And being patient and mindful. I mean, the traffic's different here. There's so many things. Well, I could go on and on, for people who, are interested in moving here that may not know. It's not, Sarah and I were talking once about, people tend to romanticize it. And it's important to be realistic and flexible because you're not going to have some of the same things that you have back home.
Yeah. So you guys, could you tell us a little bit about the area that you live in? Because one thing that I notice, like when I get feedback on whether it's YouTube or podcast episodes, is people like to hear about areas that other people are living in and why they chose that area. Because the area that you live in, it's not one that I discuss a super bunch with people. So maybe if you want to tell us
Sure.
what you like about it.
Sure. I live in Pura Vida, so I live in San Jose in the Central Valley, and it's about 2 hours to get to like the beach, near the closest beach. I live there because again, we moved. My ex-husband's family lives on that side of town, and it's more of the Tico side of town.
Hmm.
There's Escazú on the
Yeah.
other side with the expats, but I really loved that side of town.
Are your kids? Well, obviously the oldest one was born in the U.S., but the youngest one was born here.
Mhm. Born here.
Okay.
And so and they attend schools,
Tico
international
schools.
schools, not too far away from where we live. And I love the climate. The beach is still accessible.
Mhm.
I love Cartago. It's just I can go on and on, the views. And even being here 20 years, from my perspective, it's just incredible. I just look at the mountains when I walk and in the morning, and I'm like, I still have to pinch myself that I'm here. It's always something new that I see, the
Nice.
little parrots flying around,
Mhm.
So
There's something really magical about the mountains. I've always been a beach girl, but I've gone up and down from the mountains. Actually, I spent last weekend, I was in the mountains. This weekend, I came, a day early and did I was trying to do POAS, but I didn't realize I should have made a
Yeah,
reservation
you need
ahead of time
day
to
before.
enter the national
Okay,
parks.
yeah.
Quick tip, if you're going to go visit a national park in Costa Rica, which I always knew this for Manuel Antonio, but you should really go on and reserve your time. So I got there and I'm like, oh, I can't get in for another 3 hours. I'll just go do something else. But there's something so magical about the mountains.
Yes.
And I remember driving down yesterday. There was all these Costa Ricans. It was a Sunday afternoon.
Oh yeah, just
They're on the miradors,
Picnic.
the lookout areas. They're all parked. They're lined up. They got their barbecues going.
Yep.
They're having their cervezas. They're having their drinks. So they got their kids running around, and they're all just enjoying the view, enjoying the climate. Like there's definitely something very magical about the mountains here, for sure.
Right. I love it, and I love the beach too. So it's kind of nice to have. Because I like to do open water swims and things in the beach, and it's great to have that accessibility to where it's not that far, to where
Totally.
I live.
nice. So tell us about your experience, your
Mhm.
life as a professional. So how difficult or how easy was to integrate yourself here in Costa Rica to what you do?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. When I first moved here, I had a toddler, so I worked for a program that's no longer existing, but for young adults transitioning and needing help with depression, substance abuse issues, and then. Kind of fast forward, my daughter's school was looking for someone. So I ended up working at an international school for 13 years of being here in Costa Rica. And I loved it. I loved having the routine. That was important. And from my perspective, moving again to another country, I think that's one key element in a smooth transition is just, having community, having a routine. So I loved it. I loved my students. It was great. I worked it was K3 through 12th. I helped so many of my students with different issues and helping them get into college. And now some of them are getting married and close to 30. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You're supposed to be 16 in 10th grade in my office crying about a breakup or something. What happened, but then about 2 years ago, I quit to start my own business.
Okay.
Yeah, my daughter's at NYU, Shanghai. She lives in China, and my son's getting ready to graduate this year. So I thought, why not? I'm in my 50s. I thought I'm going to just start. You're
What?
never
Really?
yeah. Go ahead and tell me.
Wow.
Birthday next week.
Okay.
Oh,
to do
happy early birthday.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. Age is just a number, right?
It is.
And I think really Costa Rica,
I agree.
it keeps you
Yeah.
young.
I
Yep.
agree.
I mean, I see my friends in the US, and I think it's the heating, the cooling system, the lifestyle, right?
All right,
And
so
the
food.
way you
The
feel.
food.
The food.
And the way you feel on the inside. Because
Just
even though
totally.
I'm 40, I don't feel 40.
No.
I
No.
mean, I feel a lot younger. And
Totally.
sometimes I act like a kid.
Yeah, when I go back to the U.S., I'll have people. I mean, I'm not saying I'm like the most young person looking ever, but I'm 32.
No,
A lot of times I'll say that, and they're like,
Yeah,
"Are you? Sure? You don't? You're 32?"
No.
And I'm like,
you
"Yeah, I'm
don't
30."
look 32.
I remember like when I had my daughter, so many people were like, "That's yours." Like they were confused. They were like, that's your kid? Like you have a kid? You're old enough to have a kid?" I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, I did look younger a few years ago, but But
No.
yeah, but I would tell you, it's the food. Like, it's something about
Yeah.
being here in Costa Rica that
Yeah.
keeps you young, keeps your mind young.
Yes,
I think it keeps your
totally.
body young. And also just like, again, like having friends, being in social circles. I feel like I'm still young. I'm not like an old, boring person. Just sorry.
Well, and I think it's a lifestyle, right?
Yeah,
it's a
that's that
lifestyle because we're
lifestyle.
active. I mean, the climate where I live is 75 to 80 every single day, right? I mean, in the Central Valley. And it just really promotes that lifestyle that I love,
Mhm.
and it aligns with what I want, walking, lifting weights. And that's the key to aging well and longevity is moving your body,
Yeah.
and doing that and just embracing that. And I think this culture, this country really promotes that.
And like you said, you live close to the mountain, but you also have the beach not far away.
Yeah,
It
not
too.
far. Mhm.
Like sometimes, and I have tell these in different episodes. Like on a Saturday or a Sunday, like if I have no plans, I just say I just want to go watch the sunset, and I'll drive myself to Jaco,
Mhm.
and have a couple beers, watch the sunset, and by 8 p.m. I'm back at my house.
That's true.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not that work home. Yeah, I don't mean like I don't want to be old and boring, but I mean I just don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
no.
I was doing it when I was living in the States. Work home, work
Mhm.
home,
Yep.
work home. Like I can't hear. There's so much more. I think.
So much, right? I mean, you can, even just stepping outside, there's always something going on. I mean, even though I don't live, in a beach town,
Mhm.
there's new places opening up. It's expanding, it's growing. One thing I really love about here, we don't have daylight savings time, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it's the same every day, right? Like 4:45, the sun starts to come out, and then at night, it's like what? Sun goes down around 5:36 ish.
5:36. Yep.
But it's every day, and I
Yep.
love that. I love the consistency and the routine.
Even
You
when it
know?
rains.
Yeah, every day. And because in the summer, in the U.S., I remember going to take my kids there, and they would be like, "It's 10 o'clock at night," and they were like 3, and they're like, "No, Mom, the sun's still out." I'm like,
Mhm.
"Damn,
And you gotta go to bed.
go to bed."
I know.
I know the sun's out, but it's 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, so you decided to open up your business.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes. I'm remote. So I'm licensed in 4 states in the US. And then I also have a coaching business. So I
Okay.
have clients literally all over the world.
Nice.
I have a client that lives in Hong Kong actually. So it's kind of interesting. So, but I, I've been doing that and I love it. I love what I do. I loved working at the international school. It was such a beautiful experience. But now as my kids are, like I said, they were getting older and I wanted to transition. And I used to do this. I worked in a mental health unit for over 15 years in the US and I had a private practice. So I kind of like got back to my roots because I didn't do a lot of clinical stuff at the school. It was just, basic day-to-day counseling, helping kids with different issues and problems that would arise, and then helping the seniors with getting into
And
college.
and I believe that mental health is so important.
Totally.
And some people don't treat it as with the importance that it is. I remember
Absolutely.
this guy having issues, and he told me his story, and it was hard for him to accept
Yeah.
that he was having issues. Now that he took care of it, he was like, your mental health, it's like if your arm hurts, like
Yes.
like it's hurting
Mhm.
somewhere, like you gotta treat it, or like your knee, or like your
Mhm.
ankle, like it's starting to hurt, you treat it, right? And he goes like, your brain is the same way. If something is not
Mhm.
right, if you're not
Mhm.
thinking straight, you should find help and see what it is that is wrong with it. And I believe that not many people look into that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I also like to refer to it as brain health. There, instead of mental health, because there's such a huge stereotype,
Mhm.
and culture I know has a play in that. But it's so important. It's like going to the dentist or going to get an annual checkup. I mean, I think everybody should have therapy or coaching. I have a therapist,
Mhm.
and I think it's important because even therapy isn't just for when you're in crisis. It's for even talking about, like with my therapist, depending on what's going on in my life, it could be once a month, it could be weekly. But it's just an opportunity to kind of explore to being a better version of yourself. And then, sometimes when I feel like I don't have anything to talk to her about, I mean, my God, those are sometimes the best sessions because I'm not in crisis mode. So
Right.
I have a different perspective of receiving what she's telling me, and she's very insightful. So, but you're absolutely right, and I think too we need to kind of just normalize mental health,
Yeah.
therapist, coaching, because it's so important. Because some people say, "Oh, are you in therapy?" And like, no, I don't need therapy. You do, and it's like we all need. I'm sorry, we all need therapy. Okay, even
Yeah.
therapists need
Yeah.
therapy even the most. I think so. All you therapists out there, I hope you have a therapist because it's so important.
Mhm.
Because to be well, and I'm very proud to say I go to therapy because I want to be well, so I am better for my clients, and I'm working on my own stuff. It's like, you don't do something and I believe in it enough to where I'm going to invest in my mental health as well.
For
A,
sure.
a friend of mine just came back from Japan,
Oh, wow.
and we had dinner on Friday night,
Uh-huh.
and they were telling me that Japanese people, they work like 2, 3 shifts per day, and they have this place where they paid about what was it, $15 to go
Mhm.
pet animals, because
Aw.
they live in such a close space that they can have animals. So they pay to pet monkeys, even little pigs,
Oh,
dogs, cats, and that's therapy for
yes.
them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a lot of studies. Yeah.
Because they don't have like
Mhm.
the luxury that we have to have our dogs in our house.
Mhm.
Like my dog sleeps like almost she's like my pillow,
Mhm.
and they don't have the luxury
Mm-mm.
of doing so. So it's amazing how a small thing like petting a pet
Yes.
can help you, like calm yourself
Lower
down.
your cortisol and your stress
Uh huh.
levels. It's
Explains why I have so
science.
many pets. Explains why I have so many pets.
And then you
Some
don't
of
you
them
don't
might
have
have
a
been
lot.
from Crystal came after a certain point in my life. Azu got him after a certain point in my life.
Chiliwaro.
Chiliwado came with the house, so that was kind
That
of an
was like,
exception. Meow
yeah.
Meow was a gift, but yeah, I
Chiliwaro was
definitely
the price of getting your
of
house.
getting the
Meow,
house.
meow. I
Yep.
love it.
But yeah,
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's science that backs that up. It's about what's released in our brains. Petting your dog it helps reduce stress. Movement. I'm a huge one on movement is medicine. Moving your body. Literally, if you're anxious, do 10 jumping jacks, do 10 push-ups. Do a wall squat because it's something your peripheral nervous system sends a message to your brain, which sends a message to the central nervous system, and it's a really good chance just to reduce that anxiety and stress. Just movement, walking around the block.
Yeah.
going out in nature.
Yes, in nature too. That's
Here,
another. Yep.
Costa Rica, you have
Hello.
a lot of nature
lot of
to
nature.
go
A lot of
to.
options. I had a stressful last week. I went to go out. I saw animals and nature, and yeah,
Nature
helps
is
reset your nervous system.
amazing. Yeah, it really does. It does, and it helps with sleep at night. And mhm.
Amazing. So, what's been like now that you say that you're kind of your own, the most challenging part of living in Costa Rica?
Mhm.
I understand your kids. One is away, the other one's about to graduate.
Mhm.
How? What's your perspective on making it in your own here in Costa Rica?
I think the key is having a passion, a passion project, or I'm doing something that I really love to do in my life right now.
Nice.
I did love working at the school, but this is getting back to me, because I did work at the school a lot because my kids were there and it was convenient. But now having that passion, having routine, I do work remote.
Okay.
So it's important for me. I love going to the gym. Sarah and I talk about that a lot, our
Mhm.
gym time. That's my therapy as well.
Okay.
So, and I run into people I see there and I find things to do on the weekends because I think that's important to have a nice healthy balance so that
Mhm.
I'm not home all the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and just kind of I don't want to say reinventing myself. I guess I will say that, but as my son transitions, he'll go off to college in the US in the fall of this year. So, but yeah, I'm really excited for this new chapter in my life. I always tell people age is just a number. So, like I said, in my early 50s, I feel like I am kind of creating a different life, and I'm really excited about my business. So.
It's a new chapter. It's like
It's
just a new chapter,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Yep, totally.
and that's exciting.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah. Thanks.
Amazing, amazing. Well, Crystal, I really want to thank you for being here with us today, letting us know a little bit about yourself. We're gonna have you as a guest for next week's. Also, we really want to share with you some specific topics.
Yeah, we want to talk about the routine because you and I have done a lot of talk about people settling into routine, how to battle with maybe depression or anxiety after moving, and a lot of these tips can apply to anyone who's not moving. Just
Yeah.
I just loved our conversation about it. And for some of you that don't know, I have a social work background, so I am really always very interested in helping people. And even when I'm working with people on their move to Costa Rica, I'm talking. I want to know about their lifestyle change again, like what lifestyle changes are you trying to accomplish, and also just we've talked about it a lot. And I know I beat it like a dead horse. And I try to tell people like moving to a new place isn't going to fix everything. Costa Rica is a beautiful environment that's going to be very nurturing to whatever you're trying to accomplish. But you're going to have to set out there and like be disciplined and build the habits. And those are things that you can even start before you move or whatever it is or wherever you move, wherever you are in life. So that's why I think these topics are always really important. I really like talking about mental health and just, being a better feeling you, that those things are important too.
Totally.
All right. How do you like it?
Good, great. Thank you so much for having me. And I would love to talk more about just tips and strategies that, like you said, Sarah, even if you're not moving, I have so many tools to share and give that I think are really helpful.
I know they are. Yeah. Well, thank you. We'll
All
see you
right.
next week
Thanks,
then.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you for being
Okay.
here, and we're looking forward to see you next week.
Great. Me too. Thanks.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Have a good one,
Bye.
everybody.
Esto fue una producción de La Resortera.